SLT Mobitel, the connection.
නිවසේ මෙවැනි මත්පිට රැඳෙන විස බීජ 99.9%ක්ම විනාශ කරන විම් ක්ලීනර්ස්.
Tonight, mitigating a tricky situation. Beds in their thousands added to the COVID treatment grid as Sri Lanka's daily caseload breaches 2,000 for the first time. Magnitude of the spread. 21 more areas placed under isolation. Piliyandala public market closed until further notice. More coming up on First at 9. This Sunday, the 9th of May 2021.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරන විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanaka. Now, a matter of grave concern during this third wave of the COVID-19 in Sri Lanka is the treatment capacity of virus patients. Army Commander General Shavindra Silva today gave ample assurance that thousands of additional beds are added to the island's COVID treatment facility grid. The chief of the Operation or National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 outbreak also insisted that there are more on the way. It is just as well as today, the country recorded its highest ever daily caseload of COVID-19. What's more, it's in the excess of 2,000 for the first time. 2,659 infections in total was recorded across the island during the day.
1,896 COVID-19 infections were confirmed across 23 districts in the country yesterday. From that, the lion's share came from the Western Province. A total of 1,116 cases were confirmed across the 3 districts of the province. The highest daily caseload came from the Colombo district, with 411 COVID-19 infections confirmed. The 2 other districts in the province, Kalutara and Gampha, reported 358 and 347 infections, respectively. Elsewhere, 188 cases were confirmed in Galle and 172 cases were recorded across Ratnapura. The districts of Kurunegala recorded 75 COVID-19 cases and Kandy confirmed 70, while Nuwara reported 45. The Matale, Polonnaruwa and Anuradhapura districts confirmed 32, 31 and 26 cases each. A further 135 cases of COVID-19 were reported across 12 other districts. Yesterday's caseload also included 6 imported cases. As for today, 2,659 fresh infections have been confirmed so far in the island. Meanwhile, the Kitulgala District Hospital in the Kegal district has been reserved as a specialized hospital for the treatment of COVID-19 infected persons. It has a capacity to treat up to 100 patients. What's more, the army is currently in the process of expanding that facility to accommodate 50 additional COVID patients. Chief of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 outbreak, Army Commander General Shavindra Silva meanwhile gave an update on the overall COVID treatment facility expansions happening in the island.
පටන් ගත් අවුරුද්දට ඉස්සෙල්ලා 5800 වගේ සංඛ්‍යාවක් තිබ්බේ වෙනවා. ඒකට අපේ ඇඳන් 10000 අපි දැන් හදලා ඉවරයි. අපි මේ වෙනකොටත් ඒක යොමු කරලා තිබෙනවා. හෙට අනිද්දා දින දෙක ඇතුළත තවත් 2700ක වැඩි කිරීමක් කරනවා. අදට අපේ අතේ තියෙනවා ඉතුරු වෙලා තව 4500කට ඇඳන් දෙන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණයක් ආසාදිතයට ප්‍රතිකාර කරන්න හැකියාවක් අපේ අතේ තියෙනවා. ඒත් එක්කම රජයෙන් තව ඇඳන් 10000ක් වැඩි දියුණු කරන්න බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා කටයුතු කරලා තිබෙනවා. මේ සතියේ අන්තයට ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ලංකාවේ යුද හමුදාවෙන් හදපු විශාලතම ප්‍රතිකාර මධ්‍යස්ථානය. බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා සිකුරාදා මේක විරුද්ධ කරගෙන කරයන්.
In other developments, President of the PHI's union Upul Rohana calls on the members of the public to refrain from threatening and verbally harassing PHIs over possible mishaps on their part. He explained that even the PHIs are under immense pressure and that they are after all working for the people. On the vaccination front, the country's inoculation program using China's Sinopharm vaccine was worked off today in areas where high COVID-19 case numbers have been reported. The jab was administered to 700 persons within the Colombo municipality today in the area of Kirlapona. The Sinopharm vaccine was on Sri Lankans for the first time yesterday, with 400 persons being inoculated throughout the day. Meanwhile, the Russian-manufactured Sputnik 5 jab was given to persons within the age bracket of 30 to 60 in the area of Vallampetia today. The Russian vaccine was made part of the island's vaccine rollout on Thursday. And so far, 2,996 persons have been given the first dose of the Sputnik 5. As for the Sinopharm vaccine, 2,435 doses have been administered on Sri Lankans so far.
We have information that the vaccine is useful for people above 18 years of age. The information we have for people over 60 is still very scarce. There is no reason to think that the vaccine would behave differently in this older age group. And in fact, in many countries in the world where the vaccine is already being used, this group has already been vaccinated.
The island started its national immunization program with the Oxford AstraZeneca jab, and 925,242 persons have been given the first dose of the jab to date. Meanwhile, 194,905 persons have been given both doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine. As the global demand for vaccines rise, vaccine manufacturers are looking to open more plants to cater to the demand. Yesterday, the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka tweeted that it is working closely with Sri Lankan authorities to encourage biotech companies from China and Sri Lanka to collaborate on vaccine filling lines in the island. Pakistan have already announced that it will locally produce a different Chinese COVID vaccine, while the United Arab Emirates said back in March that a new factory in Abu Dhabi will start manufacturing a COVID vaccine from Sinopharm later this year under a joint venture.
We've been in discussion with Sinopharm and all the major manufacturers about their potential production capacities. What we're interested in particular with Sinopharm is what they may be able to do beyond China to help with the global response. And there's been a lot of work by the company over the last months to help serve China's population, which of course is huge and will make a substantial demand on that.
In other developments, Sri Lanka confirmed its highest daily number of COVID-19 related deaths yesterday with 22. 16 of the victims were aged between 60 and 70 years, while 4 others aged above 80. The other 2 fatalities involved persons who were 57 and 58 years of age. 13 of yesterday's confirmed deaths had occurred as a direct result of COVID pneumonia. The remaining 9 victims had, however, also suffered from underlying health conditions. In the meantime, with 1,365 persons recovering from COVID-19 today, the overall number of recoveries in Sri Lanka rose to 104,463. That puts the island's active number of novel coronavirus cases at 20,644.
In the meantime, the police are urging people to refrain from gathering at popular public places since it poses the risk of COVID spread. What's more, over 400 persons were arrested yesterday for health and safety protocol violations, and the police warned that even domestic gatherings involving liquor is prohibited. Meanwhile, in Piliandala, the public market was closed until further notice today, following the detection of novel coronavirus cases there.
Taking the rapid spread of COVID-19 into account, the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 isolated several areas of the island to control the spread of the virus. Accordingly, the Gram Neldara divisions of Dolekanda, Rambukka, Katlana, Tanabela, Ilumkanda and Potupitiya south of the Rakwana police area in the Ratnapura district were isolated at 6:30 am today. In the Kalawana police area of Ratnapura district, the Gram Neldara divisions of Panapula, Kudumiriya, Kudava, Delgoda East, Delgoda West, Davgalagama and Gangalagamuwa entered isolation today. Further, Koswatta, Tapaskanda, Vaturuwa, Vembiyagoda, Veddagala East and Veddagala West and both sides of the main road of the main town of Kalawana West Gramanidara division to the east of the Dolahena junction of the same police area were also brought under isolation this morning. Meanwhile, in the area of the Nuarelia district, St. Kumbas estate was isolated to curb the virus spread. In the meantime, the Gram Nildara division of Narayanpeta of the Panadura South police area of the Kalutara district was released from isolation at 6:30 am today. Meanwhile, the Piliandala public market was closed until further notice today, following the detection of several COVID-19 positive cases from the premises. The medical officer of health in Piliandala, Dr. Indika Ellavalam, stated that PCR tests were carried out on the vendors and other individuals at the Piliandala public market on the 7th of May, and that the result of 269 persons have been received. As per the results, a total of 101 persons are infected with the COVID-19 virus. Meanwhile, the police continue to crack down on health and safety protocol violators and quarantine regulation violators. As officers of the Law Enforcement Authority took to the streets, it was staggering to see many people disregarding the protocols which were put in place to protect the very people of this country from a dangerous virus. In some instances, the police had no option but to take them into custody.
Yesterday, 426 persons have been arrested in respect of the offences of face mask and social distancing. In addition to that, the violation of quarantine rules and regulations. In addition to that, a special operation has been conducted in the Western Province in respect of the mobile vendors of public places, especially the bus stands and railway stations. 2,057 vendors have been checked by the health authorities along with police, and randomly 114 vendors have been tested in respect of rapid antigen test, and 2 persons have been identified as COVID positive patients. The operation is continuing today.
Further, the police is also urging people not to gather at popular public places.
A special operation has been conducted in respect of the beaches, children parks, swimming pools and other public places for quarantine rules and regulations, and 48 persons have been arrested in connection with the offences of quarantine rules, especially face mask and social distancing. In addition to that, 849 persons have been admonished by the police and health authorities. 32 persons have been ordered to follow quarantine procedures as they have been identified as close contacts of COVID positive patients.
The message from the police is simple. That is, to simply refrain from entertaining guests during these risky times.
No one is allowed to conduct any public gatherings, parties or any other events, especially in the night, along with outsiders. And we have informed all the officers in charge of police stations to conduct raids in respect of illegal gatherings, especially parties with alcoholic beverages.
Meanwhile, during a meeting that was worked off in the temple trees this afternoon, a decision was made to convene the staff of members that are only essential to operate the essential services of the state institutions. Further, a decision was also made to keep expectant mothers at home and not call them to work. What's more, speaking at the meeting, Secretary to the Ministry of Public Services, Provincial Councils and Local Government, J.J. Ratnasiri, said that the circular pertaining to this will be released tomorrow.
Now, the importation of chemicals for non-agricultural industries will be allowed only on the prior approval of relevant authorities. The Controller General of Imports and Exports conveys this in a backdrop of Sri Lanka having banned the importation of chemical fertilizers, pesticides and herbicides with effect from last week. Controller General Damayanti Karunaratne said that some fertilizers and pesticides have already been imported under the Import and Export Control Act, and discussions have been held with the Agricultural Department and other relevant agencies and identified the categories not covered by this and completely banned them. She added that all other identified chemicals have been placed under import control and these fertilizers or chemical pesticides cannot be used in agriculture. Further, if there is a chemical required for another industry, it will be ascertained and steps will be taken in the future to issue import licenses for the required quantity. The Controller General of Imports and Exports had announced that the licenses issued for these specified items were cancelled from the 4th of May in line with the Cabinet's decision to ban the import of chemical fertilizers, pesticides and herbicides. The Finance Ministry had meanwhile issued a gazette saying that without completely banning the import of all agrochemicals, some items be permitted to be imported after the 6th of May, subject to special import license regulations. The gazette also effectively permits any shipment of agrochemicals that were seaborne on or before the 5th of May to arrive, be cleared and distributed. The Gazette 2226/48 of 6th of May, signed by PM Mahinda Rajapaksa in his capacity as Finance Minister, had been published on the website of the Department of Imports and Exports Control. We will see you on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the World Bank recently launched public consultations to update its systematic country diagnostics in Sri Lanka. The online platform is expected to enable the bank to engage with the Sri Lankan public and development partners and seek their views on the most pressing development opportunities and challenges for the island.
The Systematic Country Diagnostic is a country-specific report compiled by the World Bank Group in close consultation with the respective national authorities, stakeholders and the public. This report forms the basis of the Country Partnership Framework, the strategy which outlines how the World Bank Group's engagement with the country can best contribute towards achieving the goals of ending absolute poverty and boosting shared prosperity in a sustainable manner. Announcing the launch of its public consultations to update its systematic country diagnostic in Sri Lanka, World Bank Country Director for Sri Lanka, Faris H. Haddad Zervos, said that the World Bank is keen to hear from a wide range of development stakeholders, the government, private sector, citizens from different provinces, think tanks and civil society groups. He added that their inputs will help the systematic country diagnostic to focus on areas that will have the maximum impact on fostering greener, resilient and inclusive recovery and growth for Sri Lanka. The bank's aid that the 2021 SCD will be an update on the previous SCD, taking into account the new and pressing issues stemming from the unprecedented health and economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. The online survey, which opened last Thursday, will run until the 20th, and they are in Sinhala, Tamil and English. The World Bank says that this process is complemented by focus group discussions with representation from public and private sectors, as well as civil society organizations. The findings of the consultations will be reflected in the next update of the SCD.
Market experts say that outcome of the Colombo Stock Exchange in the next week solely depends on the current COVID-19 situation in the country. It is also said that any escalation in the positive cases can possibly result in the loss of investor confidence. The CSE All-Share Price Index climbed 0.75% to end at 7,242 points last Friday, while the S&P SL20 Index of more liquid stocks ended up 36.68 points to close at 2,875.64. Now here's Dimantha Matthew with what we can expect at the market during the week ahead.
What we are expecting is that the outcome of the market will depend on the COVID-19 situation. Any escalation in the third wave, we may see a loss of confidence again in the market. In addition to that, this is the earnings season and earnings are likely to come out in the coming days, and specifically those counters that earnings are likely to be released, and some of the positive earnings counters are likely to have a lot of buying interest in the coming days. We feel that there could be special interest coming into the banking, insurance and capital goods sector, while also material sector is also likely to be active in the coming days. So with this, we feel that with the positive sentiment, turnover levels and market activity could improve, and that will help the overall positive sentiment of the market.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, explosions outside a high school in the Afghan capital of Kabul yesterday has left dozens of people dead, with many injured. It is now known that 58 people had been killed. A media outlet sourcing an anonymous senior security official said that over 150 people are injured. As the explosion happened near a girls' school at a time when students were leaving after class, many of the victims were girls. Following the explosion, while security forces sealed up the place, survivors filled up the nearby hospital and some had to be sent to other medical centers in the city for treatment. Taliban has condemned the attack targeting civilians on social media. However, no organization or person has claimed responsibility for the explosion. The target of yesterday's bloodshed is still unclear. The blasts come against a backdrop of rising violence as the US looks to withdraw all its troops from Afghanistan by the 11th of September. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.